man, you need to buy yourself a gun. What? Gun? What? Like a handgun. For personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo. Gun? Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jack-footed cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Welcome to PrimerTime on UCY.tv. My name is Michael.
Hey, and I'm Dan. How you doing, Michael?
Dan, wonderful to hear you tonight.
Hey, I
Special
wanna-
shout-outs tonight, huh?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Nick and the guys overseas. Thank you for your service, and I know they're listening to us, and that's your brother Nick, and I know you care a lot about him. We're all concerned about those guys. So, first of all, a shout out to those guys there. How'd your weekend go, Michael?
Thanks a lot, Dan. I want those guys home more than you know. More than you know. More than you know.
I just think we're over there.
Well, Dan, I think they're doing their part. We got to do our part a little bit. Let's talk about the most important aspects of firearms, the safety.
Hey, that's a good point, Michael. You know, there's basically 4 tenets to firearm safety, and if you follow those 4 rules, you'll probably never have an accident with firearm. And you know, the first one, of course, is you always treat a firearm like it's loaded. I'm sure you're very aware of that, Michael. Anytime someone hands you a firearm, you check it and make sure the barrel is clear and there's not a magazine in it if it has a slide on it, or there's no bullets in the cylinder if it's a revolver.
I 100% agree. Every firearm is loaded until you physically and visually inspect that weapon. Every firearm is loaded.
That's correct. Assume it's loaded. Just assume they're loaded. You know, the second point in my mind is the muzzle direction. You always be aware of where that gun is pointed, where that firearm's pointed. The muzzle direction. You're always aware of that.
That's right. It's a large hole on the end and a projectile out of that in that direction. Do not point that at anything you do not intend to put a large hole in.
And the third thing is know what your target is, and also know what's around your target. Know what's behind your target, what's beside your target, things of that nature.
Is your target backed up enough to where if you miss, are you going to hit something behind you?
And the fourth rule and the real biggie that every ranked beginner I've ever seen, that they do this, and they put their finger on the trigger before they're ready to shoot. And that you should always keep your finger off the trigger until you're actually ready to send a projectile down range.
That's right, Dan. The biggest safety is your mind. and you have to become aware of this and treat every firearm like it's loaded and proceed to follow the 4 rules of firearm safety. With the largest rule of firearm safety and the most important rule of firearm safety being keep your booger hook off the bang switch.
That's a good way to put it.
Dan, I went to a gun show this weekend. I actually worked at it with a friend of mine, and I'd have to say that 90 to 95% of the people who came to the table that I was at and handled one of the firearms at our table immediately picked it up and put their fingers straight onto the trigger.
That's fascinating, Michael. The same thing happens up here in Tennessee. It is a fascinating thing to see somebody grab a gun and their finger just gravitates right to that trigger.
Every time. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's a shotgun, if it's a rifle, if it's a BB gun, if it's a black powder, if it's a pistol, if it's a revolver. Every time. Right to the
that
trigger.
happens at gun shows. Fortunately, they have a few safety precautions where it's a little bit safer when they come along on your tables. You might want to tell the folks about that.
Well, maybe people have not been to a gun show. Well, you come in, there's several rules as an exhibitor that you have to follow. Number 1 is there is no loaded magazines in the area. There's no way to load. There's no loose ammunition in the area. If you're going to have a round exposed, it has to be taped to something to where it would be obvious that somebody's getting at it. Every weapon is secured. The action is kept open. Usually this show, with the companies that we tend to run with, they use zip ties, and you'll open up the slide and run it through the barrel and then keep the zip tie on the side of the slide, or some people put it down through the magazine well with the magazine out. They'll keep the magazines out of the firearms here generally just to prevent any sort of petty theft. So they're mindful of safety, and several times I've wanted to actually make a banner for our table that just says "Keep your finger off the trigger." I wanted to use harsher language than that, but the gun shows are family oriented. That was something nice I saw. A lot of people did bring their children. I had an enjoyable time showing some things that were on the table. One of them was a Ruger Charger. That's basically a Ruger 1022 rifle made into a pistol. Comes with a bipod on it, and it's really neat looking wood. Little kids seem to flock to that one just because it's about their size. And I enjoyed showing that to quite a bit.
That's it's got a rifle receiver with a pistol barrel on it, correct?
Yeah, it's got a
10-inch barrel on it or something?
There's varying lengths of it. I only saw one other at the show. I think the barrels range anywhere from, I think Ruger's factory barrels were 7 and 10 inches. And then, like Tactical Innovations, an aftermarket manufacturer makes some shorter barrels for it. Like you're saying, it's a rifle receiver. It's actually the same receiver as the rifle receiver, but legally it's a pistol. It's a pistol receiver is how that law works out. Isn't that right?
So you could have the pistol end on it with the short grip, and you could put a 16-inch barrel or longer on that thing if you wanted to, I assume.
That's right. That's right. You could put a 16-inch barrel on it, but you could not put a shoulder stock on that legally.
That's correct, and leave it at a less than 16-inch length barrel.
That takes some firearm stamps, and that's a whole nother issue, but we're not dealing with that tonight. But anyways, it was a pretty interesting show. It was good to get out and see people out there looking for stuff, and really enjoying the sport and the collectability of it. It's their hobby. It's great. I mean, it's one of the safest places in the world. Of all the times I've been there, there's been relatively no incidents.
And a lot of the people, 90-some% of the people are carrying a firearm around with them at the time too, correct, Michael?
I would say at this time there were less people carrying into the show to sell and trade. I would say it was maybe about 40% of the people actually had a firearm with them.
Really?
But of course they are unloaded, but
40% of the people. That's amazing. Around here, I guess the economy's not as good. A lot of people are coming to sell guns and trade them rather than just coming out to buy them outright.
Well, I do believe that the economy, gun shows themselves are a good barometer of the economy. There's a lot of different items moving here than I think that would move in your area. What seemed to be moving here mostly were concealed carry weapons, smaller pistols, smaller revolvers. I did see people with high-end things coming into trade. What I did notice quite a few coming into trade were British .303 rifles. The short magazine Lee Enfield was a rifle I think first designed in, was that 1903 or something like that, 1909?
I'm not sure, but I know it's a very old designed rifle.
There's been many variations of it in a couple of different calibers, but these were all in .303 British, and I just noticed that there were a lot of those, and I kind of found it interesting that there's not a lot of that ammunition being produced anymore.
That was my next question. What about ammo for a .303 British? Is it still readily available? Or?
I haven't seen much of it.
I don't know about the surplus end of it. But, did you see any of that Rest in Peace ammo or whatever it's called? That rip.
Actually, I did. There was a large retailer there. He's a guy who's got a shop. I think he's out of Humble, Texas, and he was at our show, and he had a box of it. He had one box of it, and he had it kind of on a little raised platform so everybody could see it and bow down and worship it. It's coppery godliness, and he had it at the bargain price compared to what it was on Gunbroker. It was only $140 for a box of 20. Dan, that works out to a bargain of $7 a round for a bullet that is not guaranteed to work. And I have read that some people who've had it and fired it to review it, it actually has problems feeding in a Glock 19 of all weapons. So,
are you kidding me? Problems?
No, I'm not kidding.
Glock 19?
Yeah, if it doesn't feed in a Glock 19, well,
I wouldn't try
I
it
guess
as a weapon.
I guess that is the true to their motto, the last ammo you'll ever need. Yeah, that's the last ammo I'll ever buy.
When you told me about that, I said, you're right, because you get killed in a shootout.
That's not the stuff I want. But anyhow, at the show, ammo prices were still quite high. I noticed 550 round counts of bulk ammo, and usually the lower end bulk ammo was an easy 10 cents a round to 16 cents a round. So anywhere between $50 to $80. Wow,
for a brick of ammo.
For a bulk box. A bulk box. I didn't see many bricks. It would seem to me that all the bricks broken up into individual 50 packs to be sold.
What about stuff like Stingers, CCI Stingers? What were they selling?
I'm glad you asked that. CCI Stingers happen to be my favorite, and those were going for a box of 50. Those were going for $20, which is about
40 cents a round. Wow.
Yep, that's about 2.5 times what they were going for pre-crisis and pre-rush. Interesting side note on the Stingers. I did see some, I don't want to call them elderly, but it's an older design of the packaging for the Stinger. Something that kind of brought back a little hint of my youth. Stingers that came in a blue box rather than in a blue plastic box rather than in the clear box they had now. I hadn't seen that in a while. It's kind of neat.
I think I've got a few boxes of those around somewhere. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the older Stinger boxes.
That was some good stuff. Didn't buy it at $20 a box though, because I know that probably back in the day when that was the blue box, that was about $4.99.
I probably got stickers still on some of those boxes. I'll have to dig them up sometime. I can't get to
That'd be neat. I'd like to see that. Yeah, some of the prices from back in the day people may not be aware of if they've not been shooting for years and years. But boy, when Chinese ammunition used to come into the United States, it was bargain priced. A box of 9mm for sometimes $3.99 on sale. 7.62 by 39 box of 20 would be $1.29, $1.39, $1.79. And that was the good steel cord penetrating stuff.
Those days are long gone, Michael. You know that.
Long gone. And the prices at the show this weekend absolutely showed it.
One thing we are talking about is we are talking about prices now and availability. Before there was none, period, available. So,
that's right. In travels through a couple of stores today, I saw a grand total of 8 boxes of Remington Thunderbolt, which, for people who might not know, it's a bulk box of 50 rounds, and it's loosely packed, round nose lead. It doesn't have the strictest of quality control. It's definitely not up to CCI Stinger standards. I personally consider the Stinger to be the gold standard.
Very dirty ammo, I think, that stuff is.
That's
the
right.
Thunderbolt stuff, dirty stuff.
Dan, we've got a question. Somebody's asking for the suggestion for a first 22 rifle or one rifle if you could have no other. And I would have to say there's 2 contenders for that in my mind. One would be the Ruger 1022, which is I think a wonderful rifle. And at the gun show, I saw those selling for anywhere between $219 to about $249. Actually, there was a few that were $279, but those were fairly tricked out, from the factory, brand new. Used ones seem to be selling for about $300 to $350. So I'd say a Ruger 1022 or a Marlin Model 60. And in my mind, the big difference between the two is the Ruger 1022 uses magazines, and that's, to some, that may be a drawback because that's another thing to buy, another thing to lose, where the Marlin Model 60 uses a tubular magazine that's attached underneath the barrel, and that's pretty tried and true. You're not losing that.
I have to agree with either one of those choices. You can't go wrong with either one of those choices, Michael. Like you said, the magazine, the Ruger gives you more flexibility, and it's the most accessorized rifle on Earth, period. The 1022 is. That's why we like it so much, probably.
But in the times like we're talking now, the economy's not such a playground for everybody anymore. Accessories and the ability to upgrade and customize that 1022, well, it means money. And for somebody on a budget, I'd have to go with the Model 60. I think they'd get more use out of that and more enjoyment more bang for their buck than they would out of a 1022. Just for the simple fact of the lack of magazines. The tube either
there's nothing
18
wrong
or 14, and it works fine. It's a little bit slower to load, but, well, as they say with race cars, if you want to go fast, how much money do you want to spend or something like that?
Well, that's true. Yeah, either one of those 22s, you couldn't go wrong with it as a first gun to own, and it's a deadly weapon on just about any kind of game too.
I'll tell you what, there's a myriad of ammo available for the 22 in rifles or in pistols. Once again, I can't say it enough. The CCI Stinger is the gold standard of 22 long rifle ammunition in my book. It's my absolute favorite. I can't have enough of it.
Now, at the gun show, Michael, did you tell me, were there many 22s, AR-15s?
What I saw mostly were concealed carry polymer pistols from Taurus, Bursa, Ruger, some Smith & Wessons, the Springfields. Didn't see many new Glocks. That was kind of odd. Usually there's a lot of Glocks. Wasn't as heavy on the AR. wasn't heavy on the AR-15s. 22 rifles, I would say there was more Ruger 1022s and Mossberg 715Ts, which it looks like is their AR-15 look-alike. It's got no function to an AR-15, but it looks like one, and it fires 22 long rifle. I'd say those were the two big sellers of 22.
So it's sort of like the Smith & Wesson 1522 that looks like an AR-15 and shoots 22?
It looks like that, but it does not operate like the Smith & Wesson AR-22. It's nothing like it. It's a completely different rifle. And
how many rounds in the magazine is it?
I believe it does use the same. No, actually, it doesn't use the same. It uses a completely different magazine. So I think there may be 22 or 24 in the magazine.
Okay.
I don't think I'm too jazzed on that Mossberg.
So the quality's not there. So
that's not what I would pick. I don't have a lot of experience with them, but from everything I've seen with my friends that have had them, I'm not really enthused with them. I've got much more faith in the quality of the Ruger 1022 or the Marlin Model 60. And both of those are priced right. Both of those you're getting into for less than $250 if you shop around a little bit.
What about how many tables are at the gun show? How many tables are set up with actual guns versus what I call the junk tables, which sell?
I understand that. Well, there was a total of 475 tables at this show.
Oh, that's a huge show.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good sized. I'd say the ratio of tables having firearms to the tables having guy stuff to the tables having junk and to the tables having stuff that are not usually the market for the guy who goes to a gun show.
Like purses and dresses?
Purses and dresses and fancy necklaces and some Tupperware. And there was actually only one dehydrated food vendor this time. And I found it interesting that his packet of dehydrated seeds cost as much as a box of 375 Troy Landry Chudum CCI Maxi mini mags in the 375 bulk pack.
So which would you rather have?
I would rather have the bullets at this point. And considering I'm not much of a farmer, yeah, I'll stick with the ammo. Thanks.
I think the ammo is a good investment. Period. It always has been, always.
Well, I'm just looking at how it was moving at this show, and a lot of the ammo that was being sold was private sales, and the ammunition was consistently in 22 was consistently 10 to 16 to 20 cents a round. I'd tell you what the shocker was 22 Magnum was 60 cents a round.
Wow.
Box of 50 was $30. Some people had a box of 50 for $40 of some of the more spendy 22 Magnum. That was I don't think the gun show is the place to go to buy ammo unless you absolutely have to.
No, I agree with you. You know, that leads into another thing I want to talk about with you, Michael, and that was that you've got an ammo scalper in your area. Tell the audience about this crap that's going on.
This is, and you know what? I'm sure I'll probably run into this guy at a show some point just because he's local to my area and he sells a lot. Apparently he works at one of the big box retailers in my area, and he consistently has 40 to 60 boxes of different ammo for sale every day at 5 times the normal price. And he is an employee of, I don't think I should say the retailer's name, but it's in the Houston Pearland area. And be the large big box store. I'm sure if you searched around, you can find out who it would be. But he seems to be buying all the ammo before it gets to the shelves now. That's part of the problem. So I would say, to nip this problem or, put it in misery, I'd say try not to buy from people on the boards that are charging these outrages. Vote with your wallet. Just don't do it.
It really does suck because people do buy off of it. That's a shame. They will pay those outrageous prices just because they're scared they won't find them anywhere else. And, this guy, he's got to be in cahoots with his boss, I would think, or the manager of his department. Something needs to be done about people like that. It really does. I'm sure it's happening in every Wally world. It's happening, the same things happening there too.
One of the items that he has it's always the buckets. The Remington Golden Bullet, bucket of bullets, which is 1,400 rounds in the bucket. He consistently has those for, $165. But, something that really kind of just grabbed me was, he had some of the Winchester M22, which is, a 22 long rifle bullet. It's a 40 grain bullet. It's a black anodized copper, I guess. That's especially designed for the AR-15 look-alike. It's designed for that. It's a good quality ammo. It moves fast and it's got a good weight to it, I find it to be a little bit oily and messy, but, it's like their lubricant.
Okay. Like 36 grain is average. What grain is the bullet on?
No, this is a 40 grain bullet of this stuff.
40 grain bullet. Okay.
I'm not sure of the speed exactly on it, but I'm sure it's above 1,200 feet per second. But, it usually is sold in, packs of 1,000, like a smaller brick of 1,000, which is 2 500 bulk packs. And he consistently has that stuff for $165 for 1,000 rounds of that stuff. And it's just, it's horrible to see it. The guy's killing it. But along with that, I would like to pass on some kind of pertinent information. Olin Corporation, the parent company of Winchester, has recalled 2 lots of that very ammunition. It's the M22, 22 long rifle. It's 40 grain, and the symbol number is S22LRT, and the lot numbers are GD42L and GD52L. Nothing else is affected, just those 2 lot numbers. So just be aware of that.
Do we know what the problem is with the ammo?
I believe it's a double charge.
A double charge, huh?
Yeah. Well, that's what the rumor is. I don't believe they've given a reason yet.
Yeah, that could be a dangerous situation.
Absolutely. That could lead to a kaboom. It could lead to
a gun exploding in your face.
Yeah, that's the worst. So
that's another safety issue that we didn't bring up, and that's always ear and eye protection when you're shooting.
Absolutely, safety for yourself and safety for others.
I'll be honest with you, I used to shoot without eye protection. I always used ear protection, but not eye protection. Until I got a spark off of something hit me in the eye one time. And that was all it took for me to start wearing eye protection every time I shot a firearm.
I wear eye protection. I've had the eye surgery, so I take care of my eyes well. I eschew fashionable sunglasses, and I wear industrial safety sunglasses for my sunglasses. I'm fairly protective of them, so I can't. You and I cannot stress eye safety enough. Hearing safety, that's another thing. I think everybody should do it, so you don't end up deaf like I am.
I've got a really nice pair of glasses. They're actually, you're supposed to be able to shoot a 22, and they won't penetrate them.
I think most of the polycarbonate lenses are like that.
They're made by Gargoyle.
I've taken some of the bulk safety sunglasses and actually shot them with birdshot, and was impressed that some of the pellets did not go through the lenses. Now, granted, the pellets would have hit you in the face, in the mouth and nose and forehead and the rest of your face, but your eyeballs would have been fine.
So those shotgun pellets, they didn't penetrate all the way through?
They did not penetrate through, they are, Z81 certified, safety lenses, and they were a polycarbonate.
That's funny. That reminds me of a story out at the gun shop one time, Michael. We had this older gentleman. He would sometimes sit around and watch the store for us when we weren't around, or we had to run somewhere or something like that, you know. His name was Lou, and he was one of the first persons to get a Judge, the 410 shotgun in your hand,
Right.
revolver.
I'm fairly familiar with those.
I got a call one morning, and somebody said, Lou just set off a round in the shop there on his 410 Judge, and he had shot right through the bathroom door, and when I got there, the door was just peppered.
My God, boy, what did you eat?
I don't know what he was doing. He was playing with it or something, but, when I got there, the door was just peppered with holes, and, the guys next door in the jewelry shop, they were, just laughing and bringing people over and showing them what had happened, you know, and, enough of that. I had the door torn down and took it out back and burned it, and had my helper go get another door and replace it immediately. But the strange thing about it, they flew through that door and they hit a mirror in the bathroom, and there was pellets all over the bathroom floor, and they were in the wall beside the mirror and everything, but it never did shatter the mirror. That was really wild. I couldn't believe that they didn't break that mirror one time, but there was plenty of, they went right through the door and right through or right into the wallboard beside the mirror, but it didn't break the mirror. They were laying in the sink. There was pellets laying everywhere.
Well, you know, that shows the contradiction that a handgun is. And even the 410, you know, it's, the media and the movies show that, you know, somebody gets shot with a handgun and they fly backwards and 7-8 feet in the air, and it's great and dramatic. And in real life, handgun's a 60% stopper. Yeah,
it's all about placement, in my opinion, Michael. I believe a well-placed bullet, that's gun control.
Well, that's right. And the incident with the bathroom door wouldn't have happened if the booger hook was not on the bang switch again.
Something happened there, didn't it? That's correct. Yeah, you had to have that.
Guns just don't go off. Firearms don't just discharge, unless it's that Japanese Nambu. But
always said there's no such thing as an accidental discharge. You know, if there's
no,
a discharge,
it's careless discharge.
You know, that's a lot of people like to claim accidental discharge or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's careless. It's neglectful.
Possibly if you dropped a gun and it went off, I might call it an accident. You know,
Absolutely.
Accidentally dropped a gun that went off.
Well, that's also a problem with the firearm.
That's correct. No modern day firearm should go off when you drop it. Unless, you know, it catches a twig the trigger catches a twig or something, who knows.
And if a meteorite hits you in the head, there's a problem as well, but that doesn't happen, you know. It's the people putting their finger on the trigger and pulling it. They may not have intended to. That may be, the accident was they pulled the trigger when they didn't intend to. The gun did not discharge accidentally. They accidentally pulled the trigger.
That harkens back to that cop in that classroom saying, I'm the only person qualified to handle this 40 caliber Glock right here. And he puts his and bang, shoots him in the foot.
The children's reaction to that is priceless. Just,
if no one's seen that, they need to go look it up on YouTube. Cop shoots self in foot is all you have to enter in that. You'll bring it up.
He was a DEA agent, as I recall.
Yeah. And then he wants to bring another gun out after he shot himself.
Yeah, it was going to be, once again, as we said, the handgun is usually a 60% stopper, so he went to the big boy. He went to go grab the 12 gauge, and that's when the children in the class were, no!
That is something else. It really is.
Well, and that's something you don't see at a show. You know, there's utmost safety taken at the show.
Every gun's checked in. It's checked in by a law enforcement officer.
Every gun that comes in from the public, from the non-vendor side, is checked by law enforcement at the door. Now, when I say checked, they take it and they check it for safety. They make sure that it's unloaded, and then they zip tie it up to where it's non-operable. And they don't check any numbers or anything. They don't run numbers.
Yeah, well, you do the same thing on your table too, correct? The guns
Absolutely.
you're selling on the table?
Absolutely. Every firearm on the table is secured. The tables that I work at, we usually keep the magazines out just to prevent anybody with greasy fingers from stepping around and getting something. None of the 5-finger discount at any of the tables.
How'd the show go?
Theft is fairly rare. It does occur, but it's fairly rare. I've never seen an accidental discharge or anything like that at a show. I've heard of it, but never seen it.
Me either. Several years ago on the gun shows, believe me.
Yeah, never once.
How did it go? How did your gun show go?
It was interesting. We did fairly well. The guy I went with did excellent. We did, probably 18, 19 sold over the weekend. It was,
oh, that's a good number. Yeah.
Really interesting. He had some, a fair assortment of things, everything from high end to mid price stuff. One of my favorite parts of that is, seeing people who are new and have questions, and, there's no, antagonism. They're truly there to learn something. They're there to gather information. And I really enjoy sharing the information on whatever it is. I like going. I get to learn about the firearms a little bit, and, I pass on whatever I know. And I did help a guy out. He, actually a Marlin Model 60, and then he bought two firearms. He bought a Marlin Model 60 rifle and I believe it's a Harrington and Richardson, handy rifle in .308. So that's a single shot, .308, which is 7.62 by 5.1 caliber. It would be a hunting rifle. And, he bought that and he was fairly happy. And to be honest with you, he was out the door with both of those for, less than $600.
Two great firearms. Yeah.
That's right. So, for people who don't have a firearm, they can get into, this at a reasonable cost. And I personally, I like to focus on, I like quality definitely, but I also am budget minded, and there are several quality budget minded firearms out there. And, it seems to be some of them are coming down in price on the new market, which to me tells me that the market's a little bit saturated, because I do notice definitely some of the used firearms are, quite a bit more expensive than the, new firearms, which is contrary to what most people would think.
Are you talking about those small crickets, or what gun are you talking about in particular?
Mostly in pistols. Used firearms are more expensive than new.
Oh, okay, in the pistols.
I didn't see it so much in rifles other than in AR-15s. I didn't see many AR-15s, for sale. Not many people, carrying them around, not as I've seen in past shows.
Any AK-47s?
There was a couple. Did see a very interesting one. It was a Polytech underfolder that had a spike bayonet very similar to the SKS bayonet. And
spike bayonet on a Polytech?
A spike bayonet on a Polytech with a Polytech underfolder. And I actually had never seen that before, and I did a little bit of research, and I found out that it was one of 1,200 that had come into the country.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
It
was pretty nice.
What was the price on that thing?
For me, he said he'd sell it to me for $3,400, and I passed.
$3,400. Oh, just minor.
Yeah, that was a buddy deal. I think he liked the shirt I was wearing or something. The cut of my jib.
Oh, he was cutting you a deal, wasn't he? $3,400.
That's right.
He probably had $1,400 in, and he was cutting you a deal.
I think he probably had that thing since it was brand new. I'll be straight up honest with you.
Polytech is a fine AK, though. I can tell you
That's
that.
right. Yeah, I think it's the Rolls Royce of the Chinese. Yeah, I think those things were maybe $200 when they were brand new.
Yeah, and that leads right back to its precursor, one of our show favorites. That's the SKS. Let's talk about that for a little while.
You like the SKS. Actually, you know what? Before we get on to the SKS, there's a question in chat there. If there was only one sidearm you could carry in the SHTF, what would it be?
Oh, that's easy choice for me. That'd be a Glock 19. Holds 15 rounds plus one in the chamber.
I would probably have to agree with you on the 9mm platform, and I don't know. Glock's a tough choice to beat. It is probably right now the most reliable. Yeah, I'd probably have to say a Glock in 9mm as well, if everything else being equal.
The 19, it's a mid-sized Glock, and it fits a smaller hand. Thus,
it's a tad more concealable. It's got the same size grip as the 17. It's just got a different length of the barrel and slide.
No, actually, the grip's a little smaller on that thing than a 17.
Oh, okay.
There is a difference in them, believe it or not. It's called more like a mid-size, and the 17 is the standard Glock. I used to hate the 17 until I learned how to shoot one, pull the trigger pull on one, because it's a double action only pistol where what I mean by that is you have to pull the trigger back to make it go bang.
It's in its striker fire. There's no hammer on that.
That's correct. Correct.
So the Glock 17 would have a 5.5-inch barrel, and
and holds
Glock
17 rounds, of course.
That's right, and holds 17 rounds. And the Glock 19 has a 4.5-inch barrel and holds 15 rounds. A little bit smaller, a little bit shorter grip, and
a little shorter and a little smaller. That's correct.
That's right.
Easier to handle.
There's no difference in thickness or width of the grip. It's just the length of the grip and the length of the slide in the barrel.
Yeah, nowadays they make the Generation 4s, of course, where you can change out that back strap and make that thing
even more alterable.
Fit your hand even better. So.
I hope they don't succumb to the AR-15 disease of being the male Barbie.
Who knows?
With every little add-on, I'm still thinking back to the show where I'm looking at brand new AR-15s in the $500 range, within $25 of $500 for brand new, straight out of the box. And there's people dragging around their shot up, whatever it is, mismatch lower and upper and everything else with a barrel that's from wherever and 20,000 rounds of wolf through it that they're trying to get $1,400 for still.
Oh yeah. You see that at every show.
Yeah, but it's got a quad rail on it and a fore end and a bipod and a light.
And a laser sight. And of course, it's never been sighted in.
Yeah, well,
I tell you, that's something else. That's one accessory to a firearm it's hard to sight in is a laser sight.
I tell you what, the most important accessory for a firearm, if it's a rifle, get a sling. If it's a handgun, get a holster.
I agree with you there. And then more and more ammo. The more ammo, the better.
Ammo and magazines. Ammunition and magazines. Get good quality magazines. Please avoid Pro Mag.
You don't like those Pro Mags, do you?
I'm not. Pro Mag is not my favorite. Magazines were at the show were not outrageous, but they were not the same price as prior to the rush. But they are available. There didn't seem to be a shortage of anything.
So like AR 30 round or AK 30 round, there was plenty of those available.
plenty of AR-15 magazines. Didn't see many military surplus magazines, but I'll tell you what, PMags were everywhere for $12.
$12, and at the height of the craziness, they were selling for what? Here, this
I saw PMags for $80.
And that was how long ago?
6-7 months ago.
Isn't that incredible?
At the height. Yeah.
And that was $12.
Jimmy's asking what brand of AR was in the $500 range. It was a DPMS, and it was their low end. I believe it's the Sportical, and it's not mil-spec. It doesn't have a forward assist, but it does fire 5.56 and .223. So it's fairly close. It's just a little bit modified from the mil-spec military specification.
You know, Jimmy could probably build his own AR for less than $500. You know,
I believe so. The parts.
You get a receiver for $100, a lower parts kit probably for $75, and an upper parts kit for what, $200, something like that, Michael?
I would say that's right around in the ballpark. You know, another $89-$90 for a barrel, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's and you could, you know, it depends on what you want to spend on what. You know, you could have a really nice trigger group in that thing, a light trigger, or a super accurate barrel if you want to go expensive on a barrel. Yeah,
well, you know, speed costs money. How fast do you want to go?
Well, that's true. That's true, but it is kind of amazing that you can. An AR-15 is now in the $500 range, and that you're talking about one out the door. That's one already built and everything. Is that correct?
That's right. It's straight out the box, ready to go. Comes with a 30-round magazine and an instruction booklet.
You know, it wasn't that long ago that ARs were like a minimum $1,000.
I was seeing the exact same DPMS Sportical for $1,200. So.
Wow. That shocks me that the price of those things has come down so much. You know, 1911s, the Colt, the Colt 45 1911s, I've seen the price of them come down with these other manufacturers, and then some manufacturers the price has gone up. But everybody and their brother, from Sig to Ruger to you name it, makes a 1911 nowadays. It's incredible on those things. And they've driven the price down, and you can get like an American Classic 1911 that has all the bells and whistles for $500.
Oh, you can get them cheaper than that. There's 1911s, they're copies coming out of the Philippines, and they're coming in at $329.
$329 for a 1911.
The Amigo. You know,
it probably shoots, probably goes bang, and they're probably accurate.
It goes bang. It's a faithful copy, and it's made in the Philippines. It's called the Amigo.
It's a copy of a reliable blueprint, is what it amounts to.
Absolutely. You know, just take a look at the chat here, and there's a question in there about what do we think about promoting less firearm platforms and more ammo reserves, and I happen to agree with that. I like the idea of consolidating. I personally think, in my mindset, where I stand with firearms, I think it would be better if you're going to have an assortment of pistols. I think it'd be prudent to have kind of all the same pistol.
Yeah, a bunch of 22s, collect 22s, and have a bunch of 22 ammo, and
I don't have a problem with
collect AR-15s and have a bunch of 5.56 rounds. You know,
that's right. I would suggest, you know, if you're going to have shooters in the home and multiple people using handguns, I think maybe everybody should get a handgun that everybody can compromise on. Maybe everybody becomes proficient with one platform. The Glock 19 would be perfect for that. There's options out there that are similar to the Glock that are a little less expensive, but Glocks are well made to where they're reliable from the surplus market, the used market.
Yeah, there's not much that can go wrong with that design there, Michael, and they're so easy to clean and maintain that.
I think the ammo compatibility leads to other questions and other possibilities. You know, there's always pistol caliber carbines that work with the same ammunition and possibly the same magazine that you have in your handgun.
I just find it hard to believe.
Increases your carrying capacity, and just on a day-to-day basis, it actually increases your fun because you can shoot more.
Michael, I'm still aghast that this RIP ammo will not feed in a Glock 19.
If it doesn't feed in a Glock 19, you don't want it.
I can't imagine, and especially the prices people are paying for that. $7 a round for 9mm, that's unbelievable. That's 2 boxes. Usually.
That's, boy, that's just insane.
Another thing I'd like to cover is the Winchester had a product recall. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
The new one they displayed at the SHOT Show. Tell me about that.
No. It wasn't the Winchester recall was on the ammo. I did see a review of the Remington pistol that was at the SHOT Show, the new R51, and the reviews of that seemed to be, I'd say overwhelmingly negative. But I can't really speak to it. I've not held one. Okay,
so that was just a ammo recall on Winchester.
Yeah, it was just Winchester had that ammo recall on the lot numbers given earlier. If anybody's out there really looking for it, you can just Google, or whatever search engine you prefer, Winchester, 22 long rifle recall. And it'll pop up, or you can go to Winchester's website and they've got it in a prominent place where you can find it. They're not playing any games. They'll take care of it. It's just like any other product. Sometimes a problem product gets out, But, regarding that R51, I have not played with one. I've not held one. I've not seen one in real life. I couldn't say anything as to what, anything that I've read on the internet is just hearsay. I can't verify that.
I guess we all know now your favorite 22 pistol is the North American Arms Mini 22. Is that correct?
I do. I enjoy the mouse guns. The Mini 22 is my favorite for some reasons. It's not the pistol I shoot every day or anything like that by any means, but it's I will say I put my hands on it every day.
I've got surprisingly, I tell people a SIG trail sight, and I absolutely love that gun. It's got target sights on it, and it's a great bullseye shooting gun, although it wasn't designed as a plinker gun. It was the last gun that Hammerly ever designed.
That's a very nice, those were used in Olympic competition, is that correct?
Well, not this particular design, but yes, Hammerly designed the guns that are used in Olympic competition. That's absolutely correct. As a matter of fact, I got on the internet and watched a little bit of the biathlon, which is pretty interesting. These guys, they ski for 12.5 kilometers, and they go around a track, downhill and uphill and all around, and then they stop and they shoot 4 times at 5 targets. If they miss the target, they have to go around this penalty lap, little loop, right past where they're shooting. Otherwise, they can go on and ski the rest of the course to come back around to shoot again.
What type of rifles are they shooting?
Oh, they're shooting, Hammerly designed Special Olympic target rifles, and these guys are just dead on shots. Anyway, the first 2 times that they go around, I beg your pardon?
What caliber would these, Olympic rifles be in?
I'm sure they're 22s.
Okay.
And they every one of them has they look like, they got this huge tuning, I don't know what you'd call it on the front of them. They're dialed in, but they're also
a vibration dampener or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But they're dialed in. But the first 2 laps around, these guys get to, they're in the prone position, laying down, and they shoot, and they pop, 5 real quick, and they get up and start skiing again. The second 2 times, they have to stand and shoot, and this is after they're already pretty worn out from skiing, And it was pretty interesting. You know, the guys basically that won were the guys that hit their targets because they didn't have to skate around the penalty loop there. And, I'd actually never watched a biathlon before. This is the first time I got to see it. It was, to see those guys skiing there, and some of them would take their time shooting, and some of them would just pop them off really quick. It was fascinating watching those guys shoot.
Well, what do you think, what type of ammo do you think those guys are using?
Oh, I'm sure they're using ammo that's measured down to the micron and weighed to the who knows thousands.
Who would you guess makes that? I would guess that Ely makes that.
Probably Ely or Eli or whatever Ely or whatever.
Yeah, ELEY. That's
they
one of the
made a lot
higher
of Target 22.
Intense quality control. I have never once ever heard of one of those misfiring or any kind of problem. Of course, I haven't seen a lot of people shoot those because they come in at $16, $17 for a box of 50 back in the good old days.
In the good old days, it was expensive ammo, and people even bought that by the lot number also, Mike.
That's right.
And they would even get so technical as to go down to the machine that it was made on, and that's in the number there somewhere. It tells you which machine it was made on. That's just so they could repeat their shots over and over. Wherever they looked and aimed and pulled the trigger, it hit it. Just like having a scope that's dialed in. Where you put the X and pull the trigger, it hits that, you know. It's not a better feeling in the world than having a good rifle with a scope dialed in on it. You feel like you can take on the world with the thing, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's nothing like having a target, you know, you can hit and something that's able to get there and the skill to do it. And what gets you that skill? Practice. So get out there and shoot.
That's true. You know, with scopes are cheating, of course. I have to use one now with my bad eyesight. Getting a little older and my eyes are going away from me. But, I tell you what, once you get one dialed in, a 308, 22-250, 270, it doesn't matter. Once it's dialed in and you're hitting that target every time, it's just so fun to go shooting with that gun. I look so forward to going to the range in those cases. Which reminds me, we'll have to talk next week about about taking kids to the range. I've taken a lot of kids in my time to the range. Michael, and let them shoot guns for the first time.
I think that'd be great. I'd like to speak to taking somebody to the range for the first time. That's important. Maybe we can get somebody on who's been to the range, recently for the first time. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and we also have a couple of range masters we can fall back on, most likely, or range instructors we can fall back on. One of them shows coming up next. I'm sure everybody's waiting on it. Prepper Chicks After Dark. Lori and Eddie both are NRA certified instructors. Appreciate them coming on the show last week with us. And that was, that's just an awesome thing. Awesome feeling to be able to hit your target. That's all I gotta say. It takes practice.
And, you know, unfortunately practice does cost some ammo. So, if you can find it, buy it.
Yeah.
Try not to purchase from the resellers. Be judicious with your purchases. Vote with your wallet. I do highly recommend the standardization of calibers amongst your collection. I think that's kind of important. Buying quality stuff, you know.
Quality stuff that'll last, exactly.
That's right. You know, what's that saying? Buy once, cry once.
Yeah, you know, all my firearms, I keep them walled up and all that, and make sure that, you know, once I'm gone, those firearms are still going to be around. Somebody's going to get to enjoy them, you know.
Being at the show, saw some firearms that were in disrepair. Oh wow. Dan, that's it. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Thank you very much, UCY.TV. Prepper Chicks After Dark coming up next. Dan, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Enjoyed it, Michael. Everybody take care and have a great rest of the evening and a good tomorrow.
Everybody get out there and shoot a little bit this week. Thanks a lot.
See you next week.